My name is Margaret Hill, and I spent 45 years building a life on my family farm. Every sunrise, every season, every harvest, I poured my soul into that soil. But the real drought didn't come from the weather. It came from my own blood, my son, David. He used to be my pride and joy until greed turned his heart to stone. The day he looked me in the eyes and said, "Sign it over, Mom. We need the money." I realized I'd lost him long before that moment. What he didn't know was that I had already signed the papers. Not to him, not to anyone in our family, but to someone he could never run from. Someone who had been watching all along. And when he finally learned who it was, the look on his face was worth every tear I ever shed. Because sometimes life gives you justice in ways you never expect. This is the story of a mother's heartbreak, a son's betrayal, and the lesson that changed both our lives forever. The morning it began was quiet, almost too quiet. I was in the kitchen, kneading dough, when I heard the tires crunch on gravel, David's car. I hadn't seen him for weeks. He didn't even call after my hip surgery. But that day, he came storming in with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mom," he said, dropping his keys on the counter, "we need to talk." Wiped my hands on my apron. "About what?" "The farm," he said, leaning forward. "You're sitting on $500,000 in land value. Why hold on to it?" I frowned. "Because it's my home, David." "Home?" He laughed bitterly. "It's just dirt, Mom." That word, dirt, felt like a slap. "Your father and I built this together," I said quietly. "We raised you here." "Yeah," he said, "and look where it got you, broke and alone." My heart clenched. He wasn't here to visit. He was here to take. "I'm not broke," I said softly. "I'm surviving." "Barely," he muttered. "I've seen your bills." "You went through my mail? You're my mother," he snapped. "I have a right to know." "You have no right to disrespect me," I said sharply. He sighed, rubbing his temples. "Mom, listen. I've got a business deal, a big one, but I need collateral. The bank needs property in my name." I stared at him, speechless. "You want me to sign the farm over to you? For your business?" He nodded. "Just temporary. I'll pay it back." "How long?" I asked. "A few months," he said quickly, eyes darting. "And if it fails?" "It won't," he said too fast. My gut twisted. I'd been a mother long enough to know when my child was lying. "David," I said, voice trembling, "this land is your father's legacy." "Dad's gone," he snapped. "He's not here to see it." I froze. The cruelty in his tone was something new. "Why are you doing this?" I whispered. He smirked. "Because it's time to move on. We're not farmers anymore." I wanted to scream, to shake him, but instead I just nodded slowly. "You think money will fix everything?" "Money fixes most things," he said coldly. He stood, brushing imaginary dust off his jacket. "I'll come by tomorrow for the papers." Then he walked out, leaving silence behind him. I sank into the chair, my hands shaking. The same hands that once cradled him as a baby now trembled from his betrayal. I looked around the kitchen, the old clock ticking, the sunlight fading. The house felt emptier than ever. That night I didn't sleep. I walked through the fields, remembering every harvest, every laugh. And I realized something. If I gave him what he wanted, I'd lose everything. But if I didn't, he'd destroy himself trying to take it. So I made a decision. The next morning, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in years. "Hello?" the voice answered. "Mr. Walters?" I said softly. "It's Margaret Hill." A pause, then a surprised laugh. "Well, I'll be. Haven't heard that name in a decade." I need your help, I said. Does this have to do with the boy? He asked. Yes, and the farm. His tone grew serious. You know, I always keep my promises, Margaret. That's why I'm calling, I said. Meet me at the farmhouse tomorrow at noon. I'll be there. When I hung up, I felt a strange calm. The decision was made. By sunrise, I gathered all the property documents. I reread the deeds, the titles, all signed in my name. Then I pulled out a blank transfer form. My hands didn't shake this time. I signed the farm away, not to David, but to Mr. Walters, David's boss. The man who had once owned this land before I bought it. The same man David worked under and feared. I sealed the envelope and exhaled. You'll learn, my son, I whispered. You'll finally learn. When David arrived that afternoon, he was all smiles. You got the papers ready? He asked eagerly. I nodded, keeping my face neutral. Yes. I signed everything this morning. His grin widened. Good. Let's head to the bank. Actually, I said calmly, they're already filed. His smile faltered. What do you mean? The transfer is complete, I said. The farm's been sold. His jaw dropped. Sold? To who? I paused, then handed him the receipt. He scanned it, and his face turned white. Mr. Walters? Yes, I said quietly. Your employer. Why would you... Because he values the land, I interrupted, and because he knows how to take care of what's his. You can't do that, he shouted. I already did, I replied. He slammed his hand on the table. He'll fire me. You've ruined everything. No, David, I said, standing slowly. You did that yourself. His breathing grew heavy, rage boiling beneath the surface. You'll regret this, he growled. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll have peace. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the window rattled. I watched him drive away, a cloud of dust following him down the road. My chest ached, but I didn't cry. I'd shed enough tears already. That night I poured tea for two, an old habit I never broke. I did it, Henry, I whispered to my late husband's photograph. I protected what we built. The wind howled through the window as if he was answering me. But deep down I knew this wasn't the end. David wouldn't stop here. The next morning proved me right. My phone rang before dawn. Mom, open the door. His voice was tight, angry. It's 6 a.m., I said. Now, Mom. I sighed and went to unlock it. He burst in, eyes red, hair a mess. You talked to him, didn't you? To Mr. Walters? Yes, he shouted. He called me in last night, said the deal's done. That's right. He offered me a job at half my pay. At least he didn't fire you. That's not the point, he yelled. You embarrassed me. David, I said softly, I saved you. From what? From yourself. He laughed bitterly. You think you're wise, don't you? No, I said. Just tired of being used? He clenched his fists. You'll regret crossing me, Mom. If it means you'll finally grow up, then so be it. He glared at me, breathing hard. We're done, he spat. We've been done for years, I said quietly. He turned and stormed out again, slamming the door behind him. I stood there for a long time, the echoes of his anger fading into silence. I thought the storm had passed, but it was only beginning, because a week later, I got a call from Mr. Walters. Margaret, he said, we need to talk. My heart sank. Is it David? Yes, he sighed, and it's not good. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. What did he do? He tried to forge your signature. What? He wanted to reverse the sale. My knees went weak. Oh, David. I stopped him before it went too far, Walter said. But he's in trouble now. Big trouble. How bad? I whispered. Bad enough that he might lose everything. I pressed my hand to my heart. Can I see him? He's not ready, Walters said softly. Let me handle it for now. I nodded, though he couldn't see me. Thank you. He's still your son, Margaret, Walters said gently. Sometimes they have to fall before they learn to stand. I know, I whispered. But I'll still be here when he does. After I hung up, I sat by the window for hours, watching the sun dip behind the hills, wondering where my son had gone, not his body, but his heart. Somewhere along the way I lost him to greed, but I still had hope, because even the coldest soil can bloom again with the right rain. The next few days passed like heavy rain clouds. Every sound on the farm echoed louder than usual. The creak of the barn door, the hum of the windmill. But what I didn't hear anymore was David's voice. No calls, no messages, just silence, the kind that seeps into your bones. On the 5th day, Mr. Walters' truck pulled up the driveway. I was standing on the porch with my coffee, watching the sunrise. He stepped out, his boots crunching on the gravel. "Morning, Margaret," he said with a heavy sigh. "Morning, Tom," I replied, forcing a smile. He looked older than I remembered, the kind of tired that comes from knowing too much. "We need to talk about David," he said. My chest tightened. What did he do now? "He came to the office yesterday," Tom said, removing his hat. "Begged me to reverse the sale. I told him it was legal, final, and done. He didn't like that answer." "Did he threaten you?" I asked quietly. "Not in words," Tom said, "but in his eyes? Yes, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "He's lost," I whispered. "He's angry," Tom corrected, "and angry men do foolish things." He handed me an envelope. "He dropped this off for you before storming out." I hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper, my wedding photo torn in half. My breath caught. "He's trying to hurt you," Tom said softly. I swallowed hard. "He already has. You want me to talk to him?" "No," I said firmly. "This is between a mother and her son." Tom nodded, respecting my strength. "You've always been tougher than you look," he said, trying to smile. "You too," I replied. As he drove off, I stared at that torn photograph for a long time. The half that remained showed me smiling beside my husband, a moment frozen in joy. The missing half, where David stood as a child between us, was gone. Maybe it was symbolic. Maybe that piece of my life was gone too. That night, I locked every door. For the first time, I was afraid of my own son. Around midnight, I heard something outside, a noise near the barn. I grabbed the old shotgun from behind the door, my heart pounding. "Who's there?" I called out. No answer. Just the creak of a loose hinge. I stepped into the cold night air, moonlight washing over the fields. And there he was, David, standing by the tractor, holding a gas can. "David!" I shouted. "What are you doing?" He froze, then turned slowly. His eyes were glassy, filled with something between pain and rage. "You left me no choice, Mom," he said. "You gave away everything that was mine." "Yours?" I said, trembling. "You didn't earn this?" "Dad promised it to me. He promised you love, not land." He gritted his teeth, raising the gas can. "Then I'll take what's left." "Don't!" I screamed. But before he could pour a drop, headlights flashed. Tom's truck screeched into the yard. "Put it down, David!" he shouted. David stumbled back, startled. "You called him?" he barked. "No," I cried. "He came on his own." Tom stepped closer, voice steady. "Don't do this, son. You'll destroy more than the farm." "You don't understand," David yelled. "She ruined me." "She saved you," Tom said firmly. David's hands shook, tears welling up in his eyes. "I just wanted to be enough." My heart broke all over again. You've always been enough, I whispered. He looked at me, broken, confused. Then why didn't you trust me? Because you stopped trusting yourself, I said softly. The gas can dropped from his hand. The sound echoed through the night. He sank to his knees, sobbing. Tom approached slowly, placing a hand on his shoulder. It's over, son, he said. Let it go. David didn't resist. He just cried. And for the first time in years, I saw the boy I once knew, lost beneath the man he'd become. I rushed forward and wrapped my arms around him. I'm sorry, Mom, he whispered through tears. I know, I said, but sorry won't fix what's broken. I'll fix it, he promised. I'll make it right. Start by forgiving yourself, I said quietly. Tom helped him stand. You'll come with me tonight, he told David. You need rest, and maybe some space. David nodded weakly. As they drove away, I stood in the driveway, the stars overhead flickering faintly. The air smelled of smoke and rain, like endings and beginnings all at once. The next morning, Tom called. He's safe, he said, sleeping at my guest house. Thank you, I said softly. There's something else, he added. Something you should know. My stomach tightened. What is it? David didn't tell you everything about that business deal. What do you mean? He wasn't starting a company. He was covering gambling debts. I froze. Oh my God. A man named Collins has been after him for months, Tom said. If he hadn't sold the farm, Collins would have taken it by force. I sank into the nearest chair. So he wasn't trying to steal from me? Not exactly, Tom said. He was desperate. But desperation can still destroy. And Mr. Collins? He's gone, Tom said. The police are involved now. I exhaled slowly, relief mixing with sorrow. So that's why he was so afraid. Yes, Tom said. And he's ashamed too. Maybe that's a start, I said. Maybe, Tom replied. He asked if he could see you. When? Tomorrow morning. I hesitated. All right. The next day, the air was crisp and quiet. I baked fresh bread, something I hadn't done since before Henry died. When David arrived, he looked smaller somehow, humbled. Hi, Mom, he said softly. Hi, son. We sat at the kitchen table. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then he said, I don't deserve this bread. Maybe not, I said, but you need it. He smiled weakly. I've been a fool. Yes, I said, but you're still my fool. He laughed quietly, eyes glassy. I thought I'd lost everything. You almost did, I said, but not me. He looked at me. Why did you sell it to Mr. Walters? Because he was the only one who wouldn't let you destroy yourself. He told me he used to know Dad, David said softly. He did, I replied. They built this farm together once. I never knew that. There's a lot you didn't know. Like what? I hesitated, then took a deep breath. Tom Walters isn't just your boss. David frowned. Then who is he? He's your godfather, I said. His eyes widened. What? Your father made him promise. If you ever lost your way, he'd bring you home. David sat back, stunned. He never told me. Because he wanted you to find out when you needed it most. He ran his hands through his hair, overwhelmed. And I tried to ruin him. No, I said. You just forgot who he was. David laughed bitterly. Guess I forgot who I was, too. Now you remember, I said gently. And that's what matters. He looked around the room. The wooden beams, the photos, the smell of bread. I don't deserve this home. Maybe not yet, I said, but you can earn it back. How? By rebuilding it, with your hands, not your pride. He nodded slowly. I will. For the first time, I believed him. The farm might have been sold on paper, but in that moment something else returned. Trust, hope, and the faintest glimmer of redemption. As the sun set that evening, David stood beside me on the porch. "Do you think Mr. Walters will ever forgive me?" he asked. "He already has," I said. "Then maybe," he smiled faintly, "I can forgive myself too." I squeezed his hand. "That's the real inheritance, son." He looked at me, tears glinting in his eyes. "Thank you, Mom." "For what?" "For not giving up on me." "Mothers don't give up," I said softly. "We just wait for the soil to heal." The wind carried the scent of wheat through the air. The farm wasn't his anymore, but maybe one day it could be again. For now, that was enough. Because forgiveness, like farming, takes time. And I had all the time in the world. The night fell quietly, stars glimmering above the fields. David stayed the night, his first time home in years. In the morning, I woke to the sound of footsteps in the yard. He was already working, fixing the broken fence. I smiled, watching through the window. "He's learning," I whispered. And somewhere in the wind I could almost hear Henry's voice, proud, soft, and certain. "You did good, Margaret." I closed my eyes and let the sunlight warm my face. The farm had been sold, but my family had been saved. And that was worth more than any land or money, because in the end, the richest soil is the heart that learns to forgive. The boy I raised was still in there growing again, and this time I knew he'd bloom for real. The next morning, the farm looked alive again. Dew sparkled on the grass like tiny diamonds. Birds sang, roosters crowed, and for the first time in months, peace felt possible. David was already out in the yard, fixing the old fence by hand. His shirt was soaked in sweat, but his face looked lighter. I stood by the window, coffee in hand, watching him with quiet pride. He glanced up once, saw me, and smiled. A real smile. That small curve of his lips carried years of healing. When Tom Walters arrived later that day, David didn't hide or run. He met him halfway up the path, hat in hand, voice humble. "Mr. Walters," David said, "I owe you an apology." Tom nodded slowly. "You owe yourself one, too." "I know," David said, his voice cracking. "But I'll work for you, free if I have to, until I earn back the farm." Tom smiled faintly. "You don't work for me, son. You work with me." David looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You'll see," Tom said. "There's something your father wanted you to have." "My father?" "Yes," Tom said. "He left me something to give you when the time was right." My heart skipped a beat. "Henry left you something?" Tom nodded and reached into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small, weathered envelope sealed with wax. "He gave this to me 20 years ago," Tom said. "Told me not to open it. Said I'd know when to deliver it." David's hands trembled as he took it. "It's addressed to both of you," Tom added. I felt my throat tighten as I looked at the handwriting. Henry's familiar loops and curls. "Where did you keep it all these years?" I asked softly. "In my safe," Tom said, "because I made him a promise to protect what mattered most." "And that wasn't the farm, was it?" I whispered. "No," Tom said. "It was family." David carefully broke the seal and opened the envelope. Inside was a folded letter and a small brass key. "What's the key for?" David asked. "Read the letter first," Tom said. David unfolded the paper and began to read aloud. "My dearest Margaret and my son, David." My eyes burned instantly. "If you're reading this, it means I'm gone. But I hope I've left behind more than land or money. This farm isn't just soil, it's the story of us. Every seed, Every storm, every harvest carries our name. But if greed ever takes root, it will destroy what love built. David's voice trembled. So I've made sure the land can never belong to greed again. That key opens the box beneath the floorboards in my study. Inside, you'll find the truth about who this farm really belongs to. David stopped reading, looking up at me, eyes wide. Beneath the floorboards, he said. I never knew there was anything there, I whispered. Tom smiled faintly. Henry was full of surprises. Come on, David said, already walking toward the old farmhouse. We followed him to the study, a room that still smelled faintly of pipe tobacco and cedar. Dust danced in the sunlight streaming through the window. David knelt by the corner, searching the wooden planks. Here, he said, tapping one. It sounds hollow. He wedged a screwdriver beneath the board and lifted it carefully. Beneath the floor was a small metal box, rusted but locked tight. David inserted the brass key. The lock clicked open with a soft, echoing sound. Inside were several old documents, a photo, and a tiny leather notebook. That's Dad's handwriting again, I said softly. David picked up the photo. It was of Henry and Tom, young, smiling beside the newly built barn. They looked happy, David said. They were, Tom murmured. We had dreams. David opened the notebook carefully. The first page read, "The land must stay with those who respect its roots." He turned the page and gasped. "Mom," he said, voice shaken, "this isn't just about us." "What do you mean?" Dad didn't own the entire farm. "What?" "He co-owned it with Mr. Walters." Tom nodded. "Half his, half mine. But when he got sick," Tom continued, "he signed his half over to you and left a clause." "What clause?" I asked. "That if the farm was ever sold," Tom said, "the profits would go into a trust for future generations. So, neither of us really owned it," I said slowly. "Exactly," Tom said. "You were just caretakers." David stared at the notebook, realization dawning. "So when I tried to sell it, I wasn't just greedy. I was breaking his trust." "Yes," I said softly. "But now you understand why I couldn't let you." He swallowed hard. "He knew this would happen. He knew you'd be tested," Tom said. "And he believed you'd come back to your roots." "He was right," David whispered. I could see tears in his eyes again, but this time, not of shame, of gratitude. "He didn't leave us money," David said. "He left us meaning." "The richest inheritance of all," I replied. David placed the notebook back in the box, reverently. "We'll protect it," he said. "I promise." "We?" I teased. He smiled. "I mean we. Me, you, and Mr. Walters," Tom laughed. "Now that's the team Henry believed in." "But what about the trust?" David asked. "Does that still exist?" "It does," Tom said. "And you'll help manage it." "Me?" David looked stunned. "Yes," Tom said. "You've made mistakes, but that's what makes you wise enough now." David looked down, humbled. "Thank you," he said softly. Tom nodded. "Don't thank me." "Thank your father, I will," David whispered. That evening we buried the letterbox again, this time as a promise, not a secret. David built a small wooden cover over it, carving one word into the grain. Roots. When he finished, he stood and wiped his hands. "He'd like that," I said. "I think so too," David replied. The sunset painted the sky gold, and for a moment everything felt whole again. But as we turned to go inside, Tom paused. "Margaret," he said quietly, "there's something else in that box." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "Something I didn't show you yet." He held up a small folded paper I hadn't noticed before. It's another note, Tom said, from Henry, addressed to me. What does it say? I asked. Tom hesitated. It says, tell her the truth when the time is right. My pulse quickened. What truth? Tom looked away for a long moment. That's what I've been trying to figure out, he said quietly. Maybe it's about the will, I suggested. Maybe, Tom said. Or maybe it's about something deeper. David looked between us. Deeper how? Tom sighed. Henry and I shared more than a friendship. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tom looked at the old photograph again. He and I built this farm together, but we also built a promise. A promise about you. My heart skipped. Me? Tom nodded slowly. You'll understand soon. The wind picked up, rustling the leaves around us. There's more to this story than inheritance, Tom said softly. It's about love, sacrifice, and one final truth Henry couldn't tell you himself. David stepped closer, and we deserve to know it. Tom met my eyes. You will. Tomorrow. And with that, he walked away, leaving me with more questions than answers. As the door closed behind him, I felt both comforted and haunted. Henry's secret still lingered, like the whisper of the wind through the wheat, and I knew that whatever truth was coming next, it would change everything again. That night, I lay awake listening to the crickets sing. The moonlight spilled across the bed like a soft confession. Tomorrow, the past would finally speak, and I wasn't sure I was ready to listen, because some truths, once unearthed, can't be buried again. I closed my eyes and whispered into the dark, whatever it is, Henry, I'm listening. The house groaned softly, like it remembered too. The farm slept, but its story was far from over. The next sunrise would bring the truth. Morning light spilled over the fields, turning the wheat into gold. I stepped outside, heart heavy, waiting for Tom to arrive. The wind was soft, almost tender, as if it carried Henry's breath. When Tom's truck rolled up the dirt road, I felt the weight of the moment. He climbed out slowly, holding an envelope in his hands. Margaret, he said quietly, this is the truth Henry wanted you to have. I took the envelope with trembling fingers. The paper was old, yellowed, but the handwriting was unmistakable. Henry's. I opened it and began to read aloud. My dear Margaret, if Tom has given you this, it means my heart failed me again, but not in the way you think. You always thought the farm was my greatest love, but you were wrong. It was you, and the dream we built together. My eyes blurred with tears, but I kept one truth hidden because I feared it would change how you saw me. When we first bought this land, we didn't do it alone. Tom helped me, not as a partner, but as my brother. I gasped. His brother? Tom nodded, his eyes shining. Half-brother, he whispered. Henry never wanted pity, Tom said. He wanted pride. So he kept our family tie secret. If you're reading this, I continued, it means you and David are safe, and the farm will stay with the family as it should. Tom knows what to do next. Trust him, love him, and live again. My hands shook as I finished reading. All these years, I murmured. He wasn't just your friend. No, Tom said softly. He was my brother, and you were my sister by heart. The truth didn't hurt. It healed. I looked at David, who stood silent, eyes wide with understanding. So that's why he trusted you with everything, David said. Yes, Tom replied, because we built it together. A tear rolled down David's cheek. Then we'll finish what you both started. The three of us stood there, surrounded by the whisper of wheat and memory. The farm, once a battleground of greed and guilt, now felt like holy ground. He wanted us to find peace, I said. And we did, Tom answered. David looked toward the sky. Thank you, Dad, he whispered. A breeze lifted through the fields, gentle, almost like a reply. The sound of leaves rustling felt like his voice saying, "You did good." I smiled through my tears. "He's still here," I said softly. "Everywhere." Tom nodded. "As long as this land breathes, so will he." The sun rose higher, bathing us in warmth. David took my hand, and for the first time in years it felt strong and steady. The past had been heavy, but now it had roots, and those roots would grow again. "We'll keep the farm," David said. "Not for profit, for promise." "That's what he wanted," I replied, smiling. Together we walked back toward the house, the morning light following us. Behind us, the golden fields swayed, whispering Henry's story one last time: love, loss, forgiveness, and the legacy of a man who never truly left the end.